Since systematic temperature records began in the late 19th century, the average global surface temperature has risen by nearly 1 degree Celsius. The warming trend began to accelerate around the 1940s, but it has become especially rapid in recent decades. Most of the observed warming has occurred in just the last 35 to 40 years. In fact, every one of the 6 warmest years ever recorded has taken place since 2014. According to the scientific consensus, 97% of all climate scientists attribute this warming primarily to human activities, particularly the burning of fossil fuels and deforestation. One of the most visible and alarming consequences is the accelerated melting of the Earth's ice sheets. Nature is dying faster than we realize, but it's not too late. O42 restores forests, cleans waters, and revives our planet. Join us, subscribe and like. Together, we create the future. It is worth noting that 95% of all ice on the planet is located on land, not in the sea. The largest reservoirs are the massive ice sheets of Greenland and Antarctica. Between 1993 and 2016, Greenland lost an average of 286 billion tons of ice per year, while Antarctica lost approximately 127 billion tons annually. More concerning still, the rate of ice loss in Antarctica has tripled over the past decade. In total, Earth holds roughly 21 million cubic kilometers of ice. If this ice were spread evenly into a layer 1 kilometer thick, it could cover the entire land area of Europe and Oceania combined.
What would happen if all this ice were to melt completely? Scientists provide a clear answer. Global sea levels would rise by approximately 66 meters. This would represent one of the most dramatic geographic and humanitarian transformations in human history. Even a partial melting would have devastating consequences. Nearly half of the world's population currently lives in coastal areas. A sea level rise of just 10 meters would force the relocation of around 630 million people. A rise of 25 meters would affect more than 1.4 billion individuals. Some countries could disappear entirely. These include Tuvalu, the Maldives, the Bahamas, and Gambia. Other nations would not vanish completely, but would be dramatically reduced in size, becoming clusters of small islands. Countries in this category include Singapore, Qatar, the Netherlands, Denmark, Bahrain, and large parts of Bangladesh. Many of the world's largest cities would face catastrophic flooding. Vancouver and Montreal in Canada, the entire east coast of the United States, including New York and Florida, Rio de Janeiro, Tokyo, Beijing, Shanghai, Bangkok, and Mumbai would all be severely impacted.
Australia would lose its 2 most iconic cities, Sydney and Melbourne. Africa, which would be relatively less affected than other continents, would still lose major coastal cities such as Dakar, Casablanca, Alexandria, Cairo, Cape Town, and Maputo. In Europe, the consequences would be catastrophic. Berlin and much of northern Germany, half of Belgium, including Brussels, Kaliningrad, St. Petersburg, Riga, Tallinn, and Helsinki would face major flooding. Rome, Istanbul, Athens, Paris, and Lisbon would also be heavily affected. The United Kingdom would turn into an archipelago. In Latin America, cities like Tampico, Veracruz, Cancun, Cartagena, Guayaquil, Montevideo, and Buenos Aires would be lost. Cuba would become an archipelago, while the Rio de la Plata and the Amazon River would transform into vast inland seas. Beyond land loss, polar animals such as polar bears, seals, and walruses would lose their natural habitats. Ocean currents would change, precipitation patterns would shift, and the world would experience more frequent droughts, extreme heat waves, and powerful hurricanes.
Transitioning to renewable energy remains one of the most effective ways to mitigate climate change. Today, 17 countries already generate 80% or more of their electricity from renewable sources. Among the leaders are Paraguay, Costa Rica, and Uruguay. However, the overall situation is still far from ideal. Among the 10 countries with the highest energy consumption in the world, only Canada and Brazil produce more than half of their energy from renewable sources. Many major economies continue to rely heavily on fossil fuels. Scientists warn that time is running out. Every additional degree of warming makes the consequences more severe and increasingly irreversible. Melting glaciers, rising sea levels, and extreme weather events are no longer distant predictions. They are happening right now. Yet we still have a chance to change the trajectory. This requires collective action, developing clean technologies, phasing out outdated energy sources, protecting forests and oceans, and making conscious consumption choices at the individual level.
The good news is that every person can contribute to this transformation. Simple, everyday actions, such as reducing food waste, choosing sustainable and locally produced products, supporting renewable energy initiatives, and participating in reforestation projects or ocean cleanup efforts all make a real difference. When millions of people begin making these small but consistent changes, they create a powerful collective impact that can reshape entire industries and policies. Governments, businesses, scientists, and ordinary citizens must work together. International cooperation, smart investments in green innovation, education, and stronger environmental laws are all essential pieces of the puzzle. The transition will not be easy, but it is possible, and it is necessary. The window of opportunity is still open, but it is closing. The choices we make in the coming years will determine the future is not yet written. If we act boldly, intelligently, and together, we can limit global warming, protect what remains of our planet's biodiversity, restore damaged ecosystems, and build a more sustainable, fair, and resilient world. This is not just the responsibility of governments and scientists. It is a shared mission that requires the participation of every person, every community, and every nation. From international agreements to individual daily choices, everything matters. We still have time, but we must use it wisely. The next decade will be decisive. The question is no longer whether change is possible, but whether we will have the courage and determination